All right, ready to dive into the world of Franz Kafka?
Sounds good to me.
You probably know the term Kafkaesque,
Yeah.
but today we're going way beyond that to figure out why his work is still so relevant even now.
All right.
We've got his Wikipedia entry and a cool excerpt analyzing his fables.
Okay.
So we've got some good stuff to work with.
Cool.
Let's see if we can pull out some of those light bulb moments.
Definitely.
So what I think is so interesting about Kafka's writing is it's not just some intellectual exercise.
Right.
You can tell it's tied to his life.
Absolutely.
Both his own experiences and the historical context, too. So his early life in Prague, that wasn't your typical childhood story.
Not at all.
Born in 1883
Okay.
to a German-speaking Jewish family.
Right in the middle of everything?
And his relationship with his dad, Herman, was...
Oh, I know about this.
Yeah, super complex.
Super complicated.
Kafka actually said his father had a true Kafka strength. So you get a sense of what kind of personality we're dealing with here. Very domineering.
Yeah.
And Herman thought writing was pointless.
Oh, wow.
You can just feel this tension.
Like all through his work.
Yeah, like echoing through everything he wrote.
Makes sense.
Especially in letter to his father.
Oh, yeah. That's a tough read.
Incredibly raw and emotional.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't just his dad.
Right.
Family tragedy played a big part, too.
Oh, of course.
Losing 3 younger brothers as babies.
That's awful.
And then his 3 sisters.
Yeah.
During the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my gosh.
It's hard to imagine the impact of all that.
Yeah, the weight of all of that.
It definitely adds a layer of historical weight.
Absolutely.
Especially those themes of isolation and powerlessness.
Yes, very prevalent in his story.
It makes you think about his Jewish heritage, too.
Right. How does that play in?
It was complicated.
I can imagine.
Raised secular.
Yeah.
But later he was drawn to Yiddish theater.
Oh, interesting.
And even started learning Hebrew.
Wow.
So you see the struggle with identity, both as a Jew and as an individual.
Makes sense.
Just trying to find his place in the world. You can feel it in his writing.
Absolutely.
All those feelings of belonging and alienation.
Not being caught between worlds.
Exactly.
Not fully fitting in anywhere.
You see Kafka working through all that.
Right on the page.
Yeah. And speaking of tension.
Yeah.
His career choice is another fascinating piece.
Right. Tell me about that.
Here he is, this incredible writer working a regular job.
What, as an insurance officer?
Yeah, an insurance officer.
It's hard to imagine.
It seems so contradictory.
Totally.
But he called it a bread job.
Like he had to do it.
Yeah, just out of necessity.
To pay the bills.
But he was good at it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, moved up the ranks quickly.
Interesting.
But writing, that was for his spare time.
He squeezed it in.
Yeah, staying up late.
Wow.
Burning the midnight oil.
That's dedication.
It makes you think about his internal conflict between these 2 totally different parts of his life.
Totally.
Like you've got this guy, seemingly ordinary life.
Working 9 to 5.
But secretly, he's writing these amazing stories.
It's like a double life.
Right, and you wonder, how did those 2 realities connect?
If they even did.
Maybe that contrast is what fueled his imagination.
That's an interesting thought.
Think about those bureaucratic systems.
Oh, yeah. From his job.
Yeah, at his job.
He had to deal with that all the time.
The absurdity of it all.
Feeling trapped.
Exactly.
And that's everywhere in his stories.
Yeah, could be from his own experience.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's shift gears.
Okay, sure.
And talk about his personal life.
All right.
Which was complicated, too.
In what way?
Especially when it came to love and relationships.
Okay.
He wanted a family.
Yeah.
But never got married.
Even though
he was engaged a bunch of times.
Oh, wow.
And those broken engagements.
Yeah. His dad didn't approve.
Really?
Yeah, it seems like his dad's disapproval really messed with his relationships.
Wow, the shadow of Herman looming over everything.
And then there's Felice Bauer.
I've heard of her.
She's the most well-known.
Okay.
They met in 1912.
All right.
Engaged twice.
Wow.
The relationship was up and down.
Yeah.
But it inspired some of his greatest work.
That's amazing.
But even their first meeting seems tense.
What do you mean?
Kafka wrote in his diary that Felice had a bony, empty face, almost broken nose.
Ouch.
Not exactly romantic.
Right.
It's like his relationships were as complex as his writing.
Makes sense.
Like he wrote The Judgment in a single night after meeting Felice.
No way.
It's about.
What's it about?
Those dark parts of family relationships.
No way.
And then there's the possibility he fathered a child.
With who?
With a friend of Felice's.
Really?
Evidence is mixed, though. Oh, so we don't know for sure. Another mystery.
Another layer of intrigue.
Right.
Almost like he wanted to be mysterious.
Like a reflection of his writing.
Exactly, with all the ambiguity.
So let's talk about that writing.
Yeah.
The term Kafkaesque?
It gets used all the time.
Yeah. But do people really get it?
I don't know.
What does it really mean?
Yeah, what are those core characteristics?
That sum up his style.
Yeah, what really captures that essence?
It's so much more than just absurdity.
Right.
It's this mix of realism and fantasy. Normal situations become nightmares.
Yeah. His characters
Sounds
struggling with these crazy circumstances.
And often terrifying, too.
It's not just the situations, though.
What else is there?
It's those deeper themes.
Oh, right.
Alienation, guilt,
Yeah.
searching for meaning.
Those are always there.
Running through all his work.
Reflecting our anxieties.
Right. It's like he's tapping into this universal human experience.
Something that connects us all.
That goes beyond time and place.
I like that.
We have this excerpt here
Okay.
that looks at how he uses fables
Oh, interesting.
with their simplicity and symbolism
Right.
to explore those complex themes.
Like what, for example?
Well, take the Metamorphosis.
Okay.
On the surface, it's this weird story.
About the guy turning into a bug.
Yeah, but it's more than that.
Right. It's a metaphor.
For alienation.
In modern life.
The breakdown of communication.
Makes you think.
It's horrifying and relatable at the same time.
Yeah, that feeling of isolation.
It's something a lot of people experience.
Especially these days.
And in the penal colony,
Okay, that one's tough.
all that torture.
It's hard to read.
But it's not just about the violence.
Right, it's about something bigger.
It's about blind
A
devotion,
system,
authority gone wrong.
the dark side of human nature.
When we become cogs in a machine.
Yeah, he makes us confront those things.
The uncomfortable truths.
About ourselves and the systems we create.
And then you have a hunger artist.
This guy's starving himself.
And people watch.
Yeah, but it loses its appeal.
And he dies.
Yeah.
What's that about?
It's about art itself.
Oh, Co.
How fame is fleeting.
Like it fades away.
And the struggle for recognition.
Society.
Yeah, a society that doesn't appreciate true art.
Lots of symbolism.
What always blows my mind.
About Kafka.
Yeah, is the mystery
Robert-
of his unpublished works.
The ones he wanted destroyed.
Yeah, the ones he gave to Max Brod.
His friend.
With instructions to burn them.
And Broad didn't.
Thankfully, no.
Wow, what if he had?
We almost lost the trial.
No way.
The castle.
Oh my gosh.
America.
That would have been a tragedy.
Broad saw how brilliant they were and
Yeah.
shared them with the world.
Despite Kafka's wishes.
I know, it's controversial.
Yeah.
But think about the impact.
On literary history.
Right.
It makes you think about legacy.
And responsibility, too.
To an artist's last wishes.
But even with Broad saving them.
Yeah. The story keeps going.
In what way?
Legal battle after Broad died.
Over the papers.
Over the papers.
Wow.
Shows you how much people still care.
Out his work.
And news stories.
What, there are more?
Keep appearing.
You're kidding.
It's like his legacy is still unfolding.
It's wild.
All this intrigue
Yeah.
shows how relevant he still is.
Totally.
And the layers of meaning in his work.
Right.
So Kafka's work,
Yeah.
it's more than just weird
It's also
stuff.
about bugs and bureaucracy.
To really understand it.
We need to look at
How critics have interpreted it.
the different lenses they use.
That's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, wait.
Okay, so let's look at some of those interpretations.
Right.
Existentialism, for example,
Yeah.
seems to fit Kafka's work pretty well.
It does, doesn't it?
What do you think?
Definitely. It's all about those big questions, right?
Yeah.
The meaning of life, freedom, and just how absurd the world can be.
Totally.
And those themes.
Yeah. Are all over Kafka's stories.
Definitely. Time and time again.
His characters are always struggling,
With isolation.
trying to find meaning.
In a world that seems meaningless.
Yeah, it totally aligns with existentialist thought.
For sure.
And then you have the Marxist perspective,
Oh, interesting.
which adds a whole other layer.
Right. How so?
Well, Marxism focuses on power, class struggle,
Uh-huh.
how society shapes our lives.
And how does that connect to Kafka?
Well, think about the time he was writing.
Yeah.
So much social and political upheaval.
Lots of change happening.
And his stories, they
Yeah.
show how bureaucracy
Right.
and the law can be these oppressive forces.
Working against individuals.
Exactly.
So it's like a critique of power.
Yeah, like The Trial.
Oh, yeah, with Joseph K.
He's arrested.
And he doesn't even know why.
Doesn't understand the crime.
Totally lost in the system.
Trapped by bureaucracy.
It's a powerful image.
It's amazing how two different schools of thought.
You mean like existentialism and Marxism?
Yeah, how they both fit into Kafka's work.
They both find a home there.
It's part of what makes him so interesting.
Totally agree.
Open to multiple interpretations.
Like seeing different sides of a gem.
Right. And we can even bring in Freud.
Freud, really?
Yeah. Psychoanalysis.
How did that work?
It's about those unconscious desires
Okay.
and psychological conflicts.
The hidden stuff.
Right, that shapes how we act.
I see where you're going with this.
Kafka's work is full of those things.
Maybe some examples.
Father-son relationships,
Right.
guilt and shame,
Yeah.
punishment, transformation.
All those Freudian themes.
Exactly.
So how does that apply to specific stories?
Well, think about Gregor Samsa,
In the Metamorphosis.
turning into an insect.
That's a big one.
Some critics say it's about his repressed desires.
Interesting.
His struggle to break free from his family.
To escape those expectations.
Yeah, those demands they put on him.
It's like peeling back the layers.
With each new perspective.
And yet there's still this question.
About whether Kafka was political.
Was he making a statement?
It's a debate that's been going on for years.
Scholars can't agree.
Some say his experiences
Under the Austro-Hungarian Empire?
shaped his writing.
With all that bureaucracy and hierarchy.
It definitely had an impact.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So they see his stories as allegories about powerlessness.
In the face of authority?
But others interpret it more broadly.
Oh, interesting.
Focusing on those existential anxieties.
The universal ones.
Searching for meaning.
Which go beyond politics.
Right, like he's speaking to something deeper.
Something inherent to being human.
And maybe that's what's so great about his work.
It can be both.
It allows for both readings.
That's pretty amazing.
Making us think about the political.
And the personal.
Social.
And the psychological.
All those things woven together.
It's a complex tapestry.
And his writing style adds to that.
How so?
He doesn't shy away from darkness.
Or the absurd.
But there's this precision.
Yeah.
And clarity.
It's almost hypnotic.
His language is so deliberate.
Carefully chosen words.
Creating this unsettling atmosphere.
It pulls you in.
To his strange world.
The nightmares he creates.
He's a master of suspense, too.
What do you mean?
Leaving the reader with questions.
Not giving all the answers.
You want more.
But you're left with the ambiguity.
It makes you think.
He wants you to participate.
In finding the meaning.
To wrestle with the ideas.
Okay, so we've talked about his life.
His themes.
The interpretations.
What about his legacy?
How has Kafka influenced things?
Yeah, what's his impact been?
His influence is huge.
I can imagine.
You can see it everywhere.
Like where?
Literature, film, art, even how we talk.
Our language?
Think about Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Magical realism?
Exactly.
And Milan Kundera.
Existential themes.
They both owe something to Kafka.
They took his ideas and ran with them.
Expanding on them.
Pushing the boundaries of fiction.
Finding new ways to show reality.
And it's not just writers.
What about film?
Yeah, like Terry Gilliam.
Brazil.
That whole Kafkaesque atmosphere.
Bureaucracy, paranoia.
Absurdity of modern life.
Yeah, and David Lynch too.
His surreal worlds.
Like Kafka gave us a guide.
For dealing with the anxieties of the 20th and 21st centuries.
It's a powerful thought.
And the word Kafkaesque.
We use it all the time.
It's become part of our vocabulary.
For situations that are bureaucratic.
Or just plain weird.
When you feel trapped by the system.
Kafka's ideas are everywhere.
In our collective consciousness.
Shaping how we see the world.
It's amazing to think
that a writer who died in obscurity
in 1924
could have such a lasting impact.
Not just on literature.
But on culture as a whole.
That says something about his work.
It speaks to those universal themes.
The anxieties we all feel.
That go beyond any specific time or place.
He captured something essential about being human.
That feeling of alienation.
Of struggling against forces we can't control.
Searching for meaning in a world that often feels absurd. Like he saw into the future.
Right, almost a century ago.
And that's what makes reading him so rewarding.
Even if it can be a bit tough.
It's not just reading for fun.
No, it's more than that.
It's about thinking about those big questions.
Confronting those truths.
About ourselves and the world.
The uncomfortable stuff.
But you know what's interesting?
Yeah.
Even with all the darkness and the absurdity, there are these moments of humor in Kafka's writing.
Oh, absolutely.
And even beauty.
It's not all doom and gloom.
It's like this dark, ironic humor.
Yeah, it makes you chuckle.
While you're thinking about life's big mysteries.
The way he writes. So precise.
Those little human moments.
Shining through the absurdity.
It's like finding a flower growing in the cracks of a sidewalk.
Oh, I like that.
Beauty in unexpected places.
That's a good reminder.
So where do we go from here?
with all this
We've been on this deep dive.
into Kafka's world,
What does it all mean?
for us, for the listeners,
That's the big question.
how do we take these ideas?
And use them in our own lives.
Right. How do we handle
Those Kafkaesque moments.
when we feel like we're in one of his stories,
Because we've all been there.
in those bureaucratic nightmares
Those absurd situations.
that make you question everything?
Maybe Kafka gives us a way to deal with it all.
A way to find meaning,
Even in the absurdity.
to question those systems,
Resist conformity.
embrace who we are.
Even when it feels like we're being forced into a box.
Exactly.
Maybe if we recognize the absurdity, even laugh at it,
Mm-hmm.
we can rise above it.
I think you're right.
Kafka reminds us about the human spirit.
How strong it can be.
How even when things are tough,
We can still find a way
to connect with each other,
to resist
to create meaning,
and find joy.
even in the middle of chaos.
I love that.
So if you're looking for a literary experience,
That will challenge you
yet you think,
and stay with you.
I definitely recommend Kafka.
Don't be scared of the Kafka-esque.
Dive in.
Explore the layers.
See what speaks to you
You might be surprised,
by what you discover,
not just about Kafka
but about yourself.
and your place in the world.
Well, that brings us to the end.
Of our deep dive.
Into the life and work of Franz Kafka.
Thanks for listening.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Remember,
This is just the beginning.
Kafka's work.
There's always something new to find.
Keep exploring
Keep questioning.
and embrace the Kafka-esque.
Until next time.
Happy reading, everyone.